Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of NDD, brought to you by FanArch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and with Notre Dame set for a 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time kick time Saturday in Palo Alto, there are understandably some changes that would come from a schedule update like that. It's a bit unique having this late start time, particularly from an East Coast perspective. And while that unusually late start time is certainly going to feel different for players and coaches, not to mention those of us watching it from afar, Marcus Freeman doesn't want that to impact the approach his team takes in the lead up to the regular season finale with Stanford. In referencing the start time in his presser this week, Freeman said the mental approach to the later kick must be that even though we're playing later into the evening, and from an East Coast perspective into the wee hours of the morning, the goals don't change. He said it's, quote, Notre Dame time, end quote. Of course, with that unusual start, additional adjustments are going to be to be made. Those might include altering the travel time from the Midwest to the West Coast. It's not a short trip. A change in wake-up time and pregame activities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Marcus Freeman knows his guys must be ready to roll for a Stanford team that wants to pound the rock and play physical defense. More on both of those momentarily. For the 39-year-old head coach, the mental approach is most essential in keeping things as close to status quo as possible. And again, as a reminder, Saturday's game, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN is going to anchor that coverage. So it really comes as no surprise that Marcus Freeman would be honing in on the mental approach his guys and his coaching staff will take to having this later time. It's been addressed. It's been well spoken about. It is rare. It is unique, and it's somewhat annoying. I get it, especially Midwest Eastern time. It's a late start. I get it. And to end the regular season here, you know what's on the line. You win, you're probably in, right? We know where Notre Dame is ninth in the latest edition of the CFP rankings. So there's a lot at stake here. You want to end that season on a high note, obviously. Notre Dame ending it with a victory means that they would complete the regular season on a 10-game win streak following an 0-2 start with losses to Miami and A&M weeks 1 and 2, respectively. For Marcus Freeman, it's all about what's between the ears, and that's big. You know he can relate to these kids. He can get them motivated. He can locked in and focus. We've seen that time and again since Marcus Freeman's been the head man of the Notre Dame football program. No reason to think that won't continue now. And this season, from a Stanford perspective, they might not have a strong record to back themselves up at 4-7, but that doesn't mean this team's devoid of talent. From a defensive point of view, this is a Stanford team that's been stout against the run for most of the season. Matter of fact, the Cards are 24th in the country in opponent rush yards per game at a buck 13.1, but they've been particularly solid in stopping the run across their last 3 games. During that span, Stanford owns a 1-2 record, with the lone win coming last weekend against their biggest rival, Cal, 31-10. But in losses to UNC, close, 20-15, and Pitt, 2 touchdowns, 35-20, the Cardinal allowed an average just north of 74 yards rushing per game, which is a remarkably strong statistic. It should also come as no surprise that Stanford plays its best football at home, and that's on multiple fronts. I spoke yesterday how Frank Reich's group is 4-1 in Palo Alto, but they've also only given up an average of just under 83 yards rushing per game, as opposed to allowing opponents to torch them for north of a buck 38 per contest on the road. So there's those splits. For a group that allowed nearly 150 yards rushing per game to opponents last season, this 30-yard improvement, give or take, is a major leap for a program looking to recapture that physical, hard-nosed identity that we had previously come to know Stanford, those teams with David Shaw, Andrew Luck, Jim Harbaugh, hard-nosed physical football teams. They've taken steps toward that in this lone season under Reich. Another layer to the Stanford defense that stands out is its play in the red zone. The Cardinal allow opponents to reach the end zone less than 47% of the time, which is 4th in the conference, the ACC, 13th nationally among FBS teams. Now, from a Notre Dame perspective, for C.J. Carr in this top 10 Notre Dame Irish, establishing that powerful and dangerous run game, coupled with productive involvement by your pass catchers, must be clicking throughout the contest. Stanford may be 4-7, but that's largely due to having an inept offense outside of their run game. We're on that in a minute. With Heisman contender and should be favorite Jeremiah Love leading the way, the Notre Dame run game has got to be given opportunities to control the game. In the minimal opportunities they had last week in the blowout win against Syracuse, again, because special teams and defense was so great, You saw what the dedication to the run did for that Notre Dame offense. Boom, 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 touchdown after touchdown, offensive line doing its job. Do it again this week against Stanford. You'll be A-OK. Because this Stanford team is going to be gearing up against the run. But you do those things, it'll be a good night for the gold and blue. That strong rushing attack can also open up the passing game, which when rolling, as we've seen, is certainly amongst the best in the nation. And speaking of running games, for the solid approach Stanford takes in stopping the run, they do a really good job moving the football by pounding it in their own right. Led by the duo of Micah Ford, talked a little bit about them yesterday, and Cole Taub, the Cardinal continue to make ground and pound their offensive philosophy. Across 9 games this season, Ford's over 640 yards on the ground, 4 TDs. He's holding 11 balls for $119 as well. And he's gone over the 100-yard rushing mark in 3 contests. That's a third of the games that he's played in. So he is absolutely someone, Micah Ford that is, who can rack up yards for the Cards. His backfield mate, the freshman from Fort Wharton Beach, Florida, Taub, has provided Stanford with really nice additional backing. 413 rush yards and 3 scores of his own this season. He's been limited lately, just 17 carries and 38 yards across the past 3, but he provides a great complement to the sophomore in Ford. From the QB spot, both senior Ben Gulbranson and freshman Elijah Brown have been underwhelming. No, Brown, who has been the starter for Frank Reich since the UNC game November 1st, has been a tad more efficient than the senior. Point being, Stanford wants to run the football, and they're going to run the football. And that's where they're going to live and die, mostly on offense Saturday night, because that's where they've lived this season. They will elect to do most of their play calling directly under center and try to move the chains with that run game against Notre Dame. The Irish are surely going to be ready on the back end. All right, you know what you have back there. No Johnson this week, but a Don Schuler. We saw Stroman step up in a mighty way last week. Bookended corners with Moore and Gray. So you know what you have there. But the linebackers and the frontline guys should have opportunities to make plays against an offense that has struggled mightily when attempting to throw the football. You stop their run, you're going to have a big night if you're this Notre Dame defense. Stanford wants to run the ball. They're going to make a point to run the football. Got to be ready for it. The Irish have no doubt, no reason to think they won't be. And the final segment today includes some more outstanding news for 2 of Notre Dame's premier players, Jeremiah Love and Leonard Moore. 2 of the best at their respective positions in the nation. Each learned this week that they're finalists for a couple major awards. For Love, in addition to being Heisman candidate, and again, he should be the favorite at this point in the season, the junior was tabbed the finalist for the 25 Maxwell Award, given annually to the best player in college football. Love is also, to no surprise, a finalist for the Doak Walker Award, presented each year to the nation's top running back. You have to think he's going to win that. Joining him as an award finalist, of course, is the aforementioned Moore, who was named one of the finalists for the 2025 Jim Thorpe Award, given to the nation's best defensive back. He's also in the running for the Nagurski Trophy, which honors the top overall defensive player in collegiate football. It's obviously no surprise to see perhaps the 2 best players on both sides of the ball for Notre Dame from a national perspective reach these honors. Of course, reaching the college football playoff and winning a national title are the main goals for both. These honors, though, are certainly nice, and they're well-deserved. And just, you really can't say any more about the things Jeremiah Love has done beyond the stats, right? His ability to block in pass protection is really not spoken about as much as it should be. We know what he brings to the table when the ball is in his hand, how good he is after that initial contact, how good he is and reliable and dangerous he can be for C.J. Carr in the passing game. And then Leonard Moore is the best pure shutdown cover corner in America. Still, it's amazing, still only a sophomore. And before I get out of here, just a note about the Irish landing a commitment from 27 four-star linebacker Amari Irvin on Wednesday. Irvin becomes the 7th commit in the class for Marcus Freeman. I'll have more on Amari's commitment tomorrow. For now, I want to wish all of you an incredibly happy, healthy, safe, and enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday. I'll see you all tomorrow for our week-ending edition of Notre Dame Daily. Have a great one. And as always, go Irish.